We were talking about the Finnish mystery,
Yeah.
and it's interesting that most of the things that's claimed about the Finnish mystery by the Watchtower Society, and especially why they went to prison and whether or not they were exonerated, we answer that.
Yeah,
We show it
because
from the trial transcript.
because Watchtower claimed like it was a First Amendment thing, that they were just they were innocent, but you have a different story to tell.
We're going to tell the story from the court transcript, so
Okay,
stay
cool.
tuned.
So that's Watchtower History Channel. So
Watchtower history.
yeah, so hello Denise, tell us your story. Why do you want to disassociate from the Jehovah Witnesses? I thought that was God's one true religion.
Okay, well, we're just gonna get right into it. So there's a lot of reasons actually, as with everybody, but I would say I had questions probably since before I even got baptized that I was not allowing myself to ask, just because you kind of get the idea that there are certain questions that you can ask and that are okay to ask, but then there's certain ones that you're like, maybe I shouldn't ask that one. But anyway, so I started kind of not being able to reconcile having all these questions that I could not ask and I had to shove to the back of my mind all the time, maybe like a couple years ago. And like I remember being in meetings and seeing how judgmental people were about, and of course I still had a lot of
Yeah.
judgmentality in me, but I would notice how everybody was really judgmental and didn't seem to make sense anymore, things they were judging about. So yeah, after that I kind of started to bring those questions to the forefront of my mind. And last year, in April, I was living with my grandmother, who is a witness, and I just couldn't do it anymore. Like I was at meetings and I was just so bored and thinking about everything else and looking at the clock, and I was like, I have to get out of here to really be out of this environment that's heavy JW, to clear my head and kind of take a more, is it subjective or objective?
Objective view.
Objective view of the religion. So I moved with my non-witness mother last year, and I didn't actively seek out the answers to my questions for about a year because I was afraid of getting, the wrong answer and ending up where I'm at now. um,
Yeah.
because I kind of had that feeling. I don't know if anyone else if you can relate to that, but I had that feeling that I was going to end up here.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's confirmation bias. You don't want to find what you know you'll find.
yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, I didn't start actively seeking the answers to my questions until like 4 months ago. I was actually so obviously as a witness, you don't have any really education, most of us. So I was just working at like Home Depot and Lowe's, and they're very, in America, those are like very low paying jobs, like
Yeah.
retail jobs. And I was like, obviously, I can't get out of my mom's house trying to make a living off of these jobs. So I bought this course to learn sales, like high ticket sales, which would mean I would be selling like thousands of dollars worth of merchandise to get a commission. So I ended up spending $10,000 on that course and then learning that I don't even like sales. But the other part of the course was that it wasn't just about like learning sales. It was also about learning how to be the best version of yourself in order to create the life that you want. And so I realized that there was this part in my mind that I was not confronting. And and that was dragging me down. And so that's when I started to do research um, all over YouTube, JW Facts, everywhere really on the internet, and found, like everyone says, the Australian Royal Commission information and a lot of things. Like I remember watching this YouTube video about Noah and the Ark and having all these questions that some of them I had thought about somehow, some of them I hadn't. And it was just like mind blown. I was like, oh my God, like there's no way I can go back. But especially after seeing Jeffrey Jackson and his, the way that he was very slimy and answering questions during the Australian Royal Commission, that just like, was so disgusting. Absolutely
Yeah.
gross. So it was
But,
huge. There are a lot of big reasons.
how did you become a Jehovah Witness? Because you said your mother was not a witness and your grandma was.
Yes, my grandmother and my aunt had been taking me to meetings since like I was born, basically.
Okay.
Whenever they could. My parents were not witnesses. They had studied when they were like in their teens and early 20s, but they had not committed to the religion.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was about maybe 14 when my grandmother moved in with us for a while, and she started taking me and my brother to the meetings more regularly. And that's when I became like really more indoctrinated, and then I got baptized in 2011 when I was 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your parents, as of today, have never been Jehovah Witnesses.
My dad became a witness in 2018. So I went to
Okay.
his back. He's in Mexico, actually.
Okay. So they will be. So your father will be shunning you when you leave.
I don't think so. So when I like 14 to maybe like 18 were 4 years where I was dealing with the separation of my parents, and so I think that affected the whole family. It made me emotionally vulnerable, which is great for JWs trying to recruit people. But then when my parents actually ended up separating and going through their divorce, that's, my dad was going through a tough time, and that's when he decided to, you know, take it more seriously. He kind of wanted to fix up his life, and he thought that would do that. But I'm not
Yeah.
sure if he is really. He had issues with the witnesses for a long time. Like I remember feeling persecuted, like having that persecution complex living with my parents because my dad was very critical of the witnesses. And so I think that he still has that in his mind. I don't think he will be the one shunning me. He's not really the one I'm worried about. But
Okay. Yeah, parents are different. Hopefully, yours are not that fanatic.
yeah, well, I'm not sure. The ones that I'm worried about are like my grandmother and my aunt, and she has my cousins. So I have 4 cousins, but the youngest 3 are girls, and they were like my nieces, like my little sisters. And so I worry about that. Like, I'm scared. Like, what if they're not allowed to talk to me till they're adults? I mean, I don't know. Hopefully, it doesn't end up like that. But I'm gonna be actually talking to my family and telling them that I'm disassociating this evening after we get off of here. So
Yeah.
that should be fun.
Yeah, it's not easy. So what's your strategy?
I actually have a letter
Oh,
that I'm gonna be reading, and it's a really long one. You want me to read it?
you can read it here, or just tell the most important parts.
Okay. Well, I can read like the bullet points. Let me see.
Yeah, because if no one know about this, if you've never been a Jehovah Witness, I can tell you, disassociating is the same as being disfellowship. You're basically disfellowshipping yourself. because there's no honorable way to leave a cult. You can't just sign a paper and say, I'm out, because they think it's a serious sin to leave our cult. So it is a big deal to write the letter of disassociation. So it's a cool letter. I think you should read some bullet point for us.
Okay. Well, I did include the definitions of confirmation bias and cognitive dissonance right at the beginning before I even started the letter.
Okay.
And then, so the first bullet point was Watchtower policies involving the handling of child sex abuse. And then, let's see. I can just read the summary because I have like a summary at the end of each point.
Yep.
I put in the end, my on this topic is that the scriptures given as support of the Watchtower organization's child sex abuse policy should never have been used to protect child abusers, the image of the organization, or anything else. The foremost priority should have always been to protect children. The fact that it hasn't been that way for so long is something that I cannot and will not overlook. And then I said, I know now that in order for Watchtower organization to make changes on their outdated and ineffective policies, they need to be forced to by threat of legal ramifications. I said that explains why to this day families with minor children are still not notified when there's an alleged child abuser in their congregation. The fact that even people in the world choose to protect children with public sex offender registries. I think I edited this part, but basically I was like, people in the world choose to protect their children with lists of sex offenders, but the elders with all their Holy Spirit can't do something better than that, or at least the same.
Yeah, it is a good point, because they basically claim that the elders meeting are magic. So why wouldn't the magic work? It's like the worst spells ever. Like, leave it in Jehovah's hands. Like, this magic is just really good if you're waiting for the bus. Wait, that's like the only.
Well, so I said my last sentence on that was, regardless, I'm not willing to wait on Jehovah to update the governing body on that one.
Yeah,
I thought that was a line, but
that's good, because if you have a religion, you're basically claiming to be a magician. We're the wizard of Watchtower, and the best we can come up with is wait.
And
it is.
that stopped being an acceptable answer for me too.
Yeah.
The second one was Watchtower Bible and Tract Society interprets the Bible for you and asserts that Watchtower publications hold as much weight as the Bible itself. And I remember watching a video where someone had mentioned, like, how is that any different? The Watchtower being basically equal in authority as the Bible is like not much different than Mormons, how they view the Book of Mormon as being a supplement to the Bible. And I was like, that's an amazing point. Because witnesses always criticize, well, basically every religion, but the Book of Mormon is criticized, so it's basically the same thing.
Yeah, like the literature is higher than the Bible, basically, because the literature can explain that the Bible is invalid quite often. This is symbolic.
Yeah. Which is interesting when they choose to make something symbolic, and when they don't. And then the last one was about all of the failed prophecies, which also I had no idea about all of those, predictions of Armageddon that had been published in the Watchtower since like the late 1800s. I had no idea, and it's offensive to me that they would never, in all of their videos about the history of Jehovah's Witnesses and all the way back to the Bible students, how they just kind of like never even mentioned all the bad parts. It's pretty interesting. But
yeah. So you said you want to disassociate so you don't have to look over your shoulder at Halloween.
Yes. As you can tell, I am wearing black lipstick today.
Yeah.
And very theatrical makeup. So actually, a few years back, I had been invited to this themed get together by the witnesses where we were supposed to wear all black. And, I was having fun with the theme, and I decided to make a creative choice to wear black lipstick just to be a little extra. And that apparently was a mistake. People did not like it. So when I went
Why?
there, apparently black lipstick is, I don't know, the devil. I don't know. I have no idea. Nobody actually gave me an explanation, but I noticed that people were having an aversion to even talking to me. It was the weirdest thing. And I remember the sister saying, "Oh, I like your outfit. What, did you come dressed as someone's study?" And I was like, "Oh, wow, that's really rude of you to say." you know
But you were supposed to wear
um
black, so
yeah, but I guess not black lipstick. So that's why I'm wearing black lipstick today. I bought some at the store, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna wear it, and I'm gonna wear it proudly. And I'm sad that my Halloween costume hasn't arrived yet, because I would have worn that today too. But
oh. Yeah, we'll have to do
yeah.
one follow-up in a year. So you have
Yeah.
siblings in the truth, or is it only you?
So my brother, he's younger. He has studied, but he never really committed to the religion either. So I was basically the only goody two shoes for a while. um, but yeah, what's funny is, like, we're starting to have a better relationship since I have. Oh, thank you, thank you for the happy
Happy
Halloween
Halloween,
wishes.
Denise. So glad you escaped. So,
Um, Yeah, but ever since, I have left and I've started to become clearer mentally and less judgmental, my brother and I have a much better relationship already. And I'm sure it'll get better. But, we hadn't spoken for years, um, like, kind of just sparsely, because I was busy, going on service, studying the Bible, every opportunity. Well, mostly studying the Watchtowers, but, and, studying with people, um, so I didn't have time for my worldly family. Um,
mm,
but now that I have time to, and also I have better headspace to not be so judgmental, we're in a better place. And I feel like as I'm getting to know me, he's getting to know me, and I'm getting to know him more. So that's good. I'm excited about that.
yeah. The judgmental thing, I still feel judgmental. It's difficult to get rid of completely. Like when I was a super good witness, and when I talked to other witnesses and they were like bad witness kid, I feel better than them because I
Hmm.
wasted more time than them in field service. Haha. So
Yeah.
it's actually take a quite long time before you get rid of it. I just have to admit I still feel better than other apostates because I wasted more time,
How
which is not a good thing.
how long were you a witness?
Oh, 40 years or something. Fourth generation and born in, and I wasted a lot of time.
Wow. I have watched some of the videos. I remember seeing the video about how you were judging the ant colony. I thought it was
Yeah,
hilarious. It
thank
was
you.
pretty good. Stop touching your antenna. I don't like that. That kept sticking in my mind.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, glad you liked it. It didn't get so many views, but I think that's basically God, a guy looking at an ant hill and telling them not to
Yeah,
touch their antenna.
yeah, yeah. I got told that a lot of times, actually, which was not so fun. Actually, that's you know, uh, there are when I heard the stories of people, like, I had watched, there are videos and movies about people who had, you know, been touched by someone in the congregation, like, as a child. And that never happened to me, but when they were speaking about having to talk to this panel of, old man judges, um, I kind of identified with that because, as you know, like touching your antenna is very bad in, you know, um, the Organization of Jehovah's Witnesses, and they would constantly be giving talks about how you should feel guilty about it and how
Yeah.
it's wrong and that. So, you know, I also had to sit in front of a panel of old men and talk about that, and I just hate thinking about it, and it makes me so angry. Like, I don't know, but yeah, so I could identify with that aspect, and it's just really disgusting that anything like that exists.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't
No, no,
even
no,
mean to
don't be
mention
sorry.
it.
It is stupid, but it is a way of controlling people. When you get people to hate themselves, they're easy to control, and it also creates this illusion. Happy Halloween, Denise. So glad you escaped. Oh, another one. Exactly the same message. So no, you create an illusion when they do that. That um, you believe the governing body never masturbates or anything. So it creates an illusion that I'm so bad and they are so good. So you don't question them because, after all, I'm a masturbator, and they can read Revelation and actually make sense out of it. So I think the worst occult is if they have something to hide. They show the opposite. Like Joseph Smith, he had sex with 14-year-old girls, according to the Mormon Church, but they are even worse at forcing their members to be ashamed of porn and stuff than witnesses actually. So you
Really?
create this illusion. So when you talk to an average Mormon about what Joseph Smith did, even you can find it on the LDS webpage, they will not believe you because the difference of standard is so big. So you can't understand it. It's difficult to
Wow.
understand. As long as you hate
Well,
yourself, you can't imagine that Joseph Smith did the things that he did, even though the
yeah.
LDS Church have it on their webpage due to lawsuits they've been facing.
Oh, what?
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
when the Church of Jesus Christ, blah blah blah, what do I know call them, they get 10% of your salary. Well, and they withhold information. Obviously someone sued them and said, I would not have given you this money if you told me the truth. So therefore you actually can find all the dirty laundry on Joseph Smith on the web page, but it's sugar coated and it's almost impossible to find it. You have to click like 14 links through a labyrinth to find it, but they have it there. All the stuff he did. So it's basically the
Wow.
same. You make people hate themselves, and we're easy to control. So
Wow.
they
Do you
did it
have
to
like a
me, they
video?
did it to you, and they do it to the Mormon kids too.
Yeah, it's disgusting. And I remember watching I think it was XJW Critical Thinker. Is that the one with the couple, the older couple that do the
Eh,
videos?
Older and older, I think they are my age. No,
Well, I'm 20. I'm 20.
JT and Lady C. That's
Yes,
a
yes.
critical thinker.
Yes, I have watched so many of their videos, and when they talk about the experience at Bethel versus what Bethelites are actually allowed to say happens at Bethel, that was crazy, and it explained so much to me about why Bethelites always seemed, there was just this quality about them that I couldn't quite put my finger on, but like I remember, when I was younger, I was probably maybe like 15, 16. I had this crush on this brother that was in my Kingdom Hall, and he ended up going to Bethel. And like, I remember, you know, the reason why I liked him was because he was a really kind person. You know, he the way that he dealt with his sisters and his family, I just really liked. Um, and anyway, so we went away to Bethel, and then like years later, maybe like 3 years ago or something, I met him again. He came to give a talk at my hall, and we ended up, you know, a group of us going out to lunch. And
What happened?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so a group of us went out to lunch, and his personality was just different. I was like, I don't know. I don't think I like this person anymore. He seemed to be kind of like egotistical, and it was almost, but then when I watched videos on like how Bethel shapes people, especially men, and he was a very well spoken, like intelligent guy, it can puff up their heads and make them like kind of jerks. So I just remember being so confused, like, this isn't the person that I remember.
Yeah.
So
Well, the
I
thing
don't know,
is,
it's just really interesting.
I've been thinking about one thing this week since the last interview, and that is, I always say that Watchtower pay you with everlasting life instead of money, but really in short turn, they pay you with, if you're a Bethel elder, they pay you with status and authority.
Hmm.
That's the short-term payment. You know, I do all this crappy work for Watchtower, and the only thing I get is status and authority. So if you think about it, it's not that weird that it becomes, because I was thinking, why do so many elders turn into assholes? Because it's not like you joined the Jehovah Witness because you think that, I'm gonna work for free, spend all my time, and I get all this authority and can be an asshole. I just
Mm-hmm.
think it grows on you because it's the only thing you get. So when you've been working for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and you look, all I have is the opportunity to be an asshole. Well, I paid for it. I paid for this opportunity, and you start
Mm-hmm.
using it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what happened, because the people I met when I was on Bethel, they're really nice people, but it kind of mess with you to have this status. And they would talk about other Jehovah Witnesses that are not on Bethel. They would refer to them as worldly witnesses.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. That explains so much. That's the vibe that I got. It was almost like he was trying to catch me in saying something or doing something not like witnessy enough. I don't know how to explain it. Like, he just had a very holier than thou attitude, I guess. Yeah.
yeah,
And it was bizarre. But then there was this other Bethelite brother that I knew who was in my congregation, my most recent one, back when I was living in New York. And I remember him like inviting my friend group out to like parties all the time. And I was like, well, isn't he supposed to be super duper spiritual, you know? Like, why is he always inviting us out to these huge parties with just young people? That's a no no, you know, in the witness world. There should always be enough chaperones to keep the party as gray as possible and not very fun. So,
yeah,
but then when I found out that, you know, there's a lot of drinking that goes on and a lot of partying because of having a life that's so just basically like free slave labor, you know, um, that partying and drunkenness is really popular at Bethel. And so that made it make more sense to me. Like, and he kind of always had this, like, I don't know, kind of like a sadness about him because he had been, you know, he had been kicked out of Bethel, probably because he didn't. It, well, I remember in this one video from from that same channel, them talking about how there was a policy like you can um, do whatever you want in your room,
yeah,
but outside of that, you know, if you get caught, you're gonna get kicked out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just everything clicked in my head. Like I was like, this makes so much sense. This is why things are like this. This is why there were these things that I was observing that didn't make sense, but I was like, what's the missing link, you know? So I don't know. It was just crazy seeing all.
Yeah, it is fascinating.
Yeah.
Because I believe you don't, like the governing body, they didn't plan this. Like, I'm going to join a cult, I'm going to work for free, have no education, and when I'm 100 years old, I'm going to be the ruler of a cult. They didn't plan for this. It happened.
Hmm.
And the organization is not like you normally climb because you're an asshole that step on other people. It just rewards loyalty and stupidity, and you get this multi-billion-dollar organization with no brains in on the top. I'm not impressed by the intellectual stuff that's happening in the governing body, to put it mildly, because the organization will always push up those that do blind obedience, and blind obedience is often connected to lower intelligence than higher intelligence. It is a fascinating organization. How did it go so wrong? Do you have any ideas?
Old dudes being like you have to be in touch with the general populace in order to really be able to manipulate them. I mean, they're really good at manipulating. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna, you know, I guess A on that, but they things slip through because they're so old that they don't know how to. They can't. What's the word? Like they're so out of touch.
Yeah.
They, things that my generation just knows. For example, about like mental health or like that's just an example, I guess. I don't know. I can't think of anything else right now, but they just kind of will make certain statements that are in direct contrast with like common knowledge about science or mental health. It's where it's just like a younger person is gonna be like, I don't know, I don't know about that, you know. But then you can't say anything, so they're able to keep it from spreading a little bit, but not as much as they want to. So.
No, I think obviously now they can only play the home field, which is those that are already indoctrinated. They can't really indoctrinate more people by telling them stay away from the internet.
Mm-hmm. Well, I
And
did all the time.
can you repeat that?
I'm sorry. I think a lot of people do though for a long time, like um, at least stay away from certain inappropriate websites that are gonna spread lies.
Hmm.
So
What's the first apostate material you read? Or what are the questions? You said there were questions you never answered because you were afraid of them. What were these questions?
um okay, so for example, I noticed that there's a lot of judgment about the way that people dress.
Yeah.
Um, and I get that there's scriptures that say, people should be modest, blah, blah, blah. But when it came to things like men not being able to wear beards or certain haircuts not being appropriate, or for example, black lipstick, or, you know, even just dyeing your hair. And I remember this one, okay, tell me, I've been trying to find this article for the longest time because I remember reading it and studying it at the Kingdom Hall within the past like 5 years or so. But it was an article that was talking about how like people who wear outfits that don't conform to the norm are just like seeking attention. They're anti-humility basically. And I remember there being like a picture of brothers wearing like more form-fitting suits, like maybe tailored suits, and they had like funky socks, and they
tight pants.
their tight pants, and their hair was kind of like shaved in a way that was more modern. So it was like shaved on the sides, and then the top was more full. And so it was basically saying like, you know, kind of gotta like conform in order to be a true Christian, basically. And I just was like, who made that rule and why? And I didn't read anything in the Bible that said anything like that. It said modest. It didn't say don't be creative with your style. It didn't say don't have a personality. It didn't say everyone has to dress like they buy from Banana Republic. Like, it didn't say that. So why is it that I can't dye my hair purple if I want to? You know? Which I'm probably going to eventually, but anyways.
There are man-made rules, you know, but if they weren't controlling your clothing, it wouldn't be much of a cult, would it?
That's true. True. And correct me
A
if I'm
cult
wrong.
will always ask you to wear clothing so you look at like the others. So you have the visual, like you identify, look, this is how I dress because I'm a part of this group. They always symbolize what group they're in.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, like it just became so, you know, I was able to do it for a while. I was in the religion for like what, 12 years, 11, I guess 10 or 11, like where I was heavily involved. And so it was okay for a while, me having to like conform my style to whatever was around me. But well, I originally was in California, and people are a little more laid back in California. It's like, I mean, it's still judgmental, but not as much as moving to New York. Like, New York is so very rigid because you're near the, you know, all the different Bethel locations. And so the amount of judgment is like, it just became so much for me. I was like, I can't even deal with this anymore. I'm not going to. I started to rebel at the end and like wear skirts that were a little bit shorter or a little bit tighter, or like, I don't know, just experiment with my style more and just not care who had an issue with it. And I think that was like me beginning to really want to be out. Like, I can't suppress everything about myself for you. I can't do it. And I just think that's not healthy. It really was like, is this really how God wants people to live? Did he, like, right now I'm not sure if I believe in God or not, but if it's according to, you know, the loving God that the Bible says God is, and of course that contradicts itself sometimes throughout the Bible, but still, your sense of style.
She says your sense of style is beautiful, Denise. Glad you are not living the cookie cutter JW life. I don't know what cookie cutter JW life mean, but I think it's something with polka dots or something like that.
Cookie cutter means, like, I guess it's like an American term where it's like, you know, if you're using a cookie cutter, have you actually, do you know what a cookie cutter is? I don't know if they have those.
Oh yeah, so you make gingerbread. That's cookie cutter.
Right.
I
So
thought
they're
it was
all
kind of like polka dots, perfect housewife thing, making cookies like apple pie and.
cutter, so they're all the same shape.
Okay, now I get it. Now I get it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like your clones, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need, the only variation you're allowed to have is like what color you wear. You know?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, but yeah, I'm glad I'm
Color
out
of
of that.
gray. Were the brothers rude to you if you put on some form-fitting nice clothes, or how did they react?
I was a little more careful than I knew, like where to be just in the middle, to where they didn't feel like it was so much to where they had to say something, but sisters would sometimes, and I would just be like, whatever.
Yeah, I
But
heard. Obviously, I never, as a guy, I really didn't run into this problem. but I know some sisters when they were dressing up nice. That in some congregations the brothers were okay with it, but all the married women were like, "He's mine." So they get
yeah,
problems with the sisters and not the brothers.
well, I mean, at least now, like, because of the introduction of tight pants in, my generation as a millennial,
Yeah,
um, I think there is a little bit more of they pay attention to the way men dress as well, but definitely women more, for sure.
mm,
Um, but another thing too was that I have loved singing like since forever, and when I was 15, I really, really, really wanted to go on American Idol, but I was studying at the time, and I decided to prioritize my relationship with Jehovah over pursuing my passion because, as you know, pursuing a career in the entertainment industry is very much a no-no.
yeah,
Because the entertainment industry introduces you to Satan and the demons, and you cannot eat from the table of the demons and the table of Jehovah at the same time. So I did not pursue that, and it just wore on me eventually. It took some time, it took years and years, but eventually I started to strip everything that I enjoyed in life. I started to strip it away from myself because it was a temptation. I can't I would go to like karaoke nights sometimes that, brothers and sisters would throw and just like sing, and everyone would be like, "Oh my god, you could be a singer." But thank God that you are prioritizing Jehovah. you know?
yeah,
But I was stripping everything away from me that I enjoyed, being unique in my style. I'm a creative person. I love music and I love listening to different types. I couldn't listen to certain types of music because it had bad language or so basically I stripped everything away that I enjoyed, and life just became so dull and gray that I was suicidal. Like, I had no enjoyment in life anymore. And I was like, if I'm either going to continue this way and off myself, or I'm going to leave and everyone's going to be mad at me, but I might have a chance at happiness. And I actually auditioned for American Idol this year. I don't know if I'm going to make it or not. But even if I don't this year, I'm going to continue to pursue music, pay off my debt first. I have the $10,000 sales course debt. But after I pay that off, I'm going to really start to pursue what it is that I love because as far as I know, I only have one life and I need to do what I enjoy. Otherwise, it's going to be so dull and gray that I'm not going to want to live it anymore.
yeah.
So,
So yeah, it's like you said, you could get rid of all the things that makes you you,
mm-hmm.
and then what you're stuck with is the things that Watchtower approve or Watchtower turn the blind eye to. So that basically sums up Bethel. Bethel is the same. You have to get rid of everything that makes you you. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
like no hobbies. You don't have time for hobbies. You do,
Mm-hmm.
and what you're left in is like you can do whatever you want in your room. And there was a lot of drinking, not like party drinking, just relaxing from everything now, and then turning on self-medication basically.
Well, I'm
So
sure
it
it
is the
probably
same. It's just the extreme version on Bethel.
I'm sure it probably varies like from location to location or from even
Yeah.
person. Because I mean, it does even in the videos that I've watched of interviews from Bethelites, everyone doesn't have the same experience, and that's
Yep.
pretty interesting. But I think that's also the case in a lot of different congregations. Like I said, coming from California, there's still plenty of judgment, but it's not nearly as much as in New York. New York is just everyone's very rigid about everything, and ugh, I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. I could not do it anymore.
So you live in
But
New York now?
no, not now. I moved away from New York because that's where my family, who are still witnesses,
Okay.
are. So I'm not in New York anymore.
So are you currently a member of a congregation that's lurking, lurking elders?
Technically, but I never met them because I came here with the intention of not going to the Kingdom Hall or Zoom
Yeah.
meetings. Like, uh, so technically, there is a congregation that's supposed to be keeping tabs on me, and they have been messaging me lately. So if they're not tracking me down yet, they probably will be trying to. But
Yeah, I hope they Google Denise Richardson and then they will find Goatlike Personality's channel with a video called Denise Richardson is no longer a Jehovah Witness. So I like the idea that the Holy Spirit is directing them via Google to my channel.
yeah, it might. But by then, I will already have removed myself, so I'll take that off their hands for them. They don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's
But
perfect.
I'm really glad that now, I'm able to experiment with my style the way I want. I got rid of a lot of, actually, so I moved recently, um, with a friend, and this friend is a male, which is definitely a no-no. You do not move. You do not have a male roommate as a witness.
No.
So, anyways, it just feels really great that I'm starting to establish like my own independence mentally and also just in my life, and start to rediscover who I am, my passions again, because there were some that as a teenager I hadn't even delved into yet, because I was still in development. I knew I loved singing, but I kind of also wanted to experiment with painting, other creative outlets. So
Hmm.
I'm back into all that stuff, and who knows where I'm going to end up, in a few years. But I'm just really excited to be able to start to enjoy life again, even though there are bad days where the indoctrination kicks in and it's like, you're a bad person, you're a bad Christian, even though I don't consider myself that. But it's just the indoctrination can be so heavy sometimes.
Yeah.
But
Do
that,
you start apologizing to strangers? Really long apologetic rants? I do.
huh?
I feel like I need to explain, that I'm breeding here, but it's okay breeding because there's nothing in the Bible and the Norwegian legislation against breeding. And I sometimes I just fall into this pattern of apologizing for everything. Doesn't happen so much, but I realize why it's happening. It's because the shame, and the breeding thing was just an example, but I often notice that I start apologizing.
What's funny is, okay, so I'm in this Facebook group for ex Jehovah's Witnesses, and when I mentioned that I was going to be writing a disassociation letter, oh man, everybody was so mad. They were like, well, why are you writing that letter? You're giving them power. And I went on this rant, and I was like, first of all, these are the reasons why I'm doing this. Please just be nice and realize that everyone's journey leaving is different. But I definitely was angrier in my head, but I didn't word it that way because I didn't want anyone to be mad at me. Then they were already mad at me, so I guess it doesn't matter. But yeah, it's funny that you say that because I just did that the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell people to disassociate on Goat-like Personality, because this way they can your grandma, for instance, she can Google you and see this. But when
Mhm.
you send a letter to the congregation, they will just say that you're disfellowship, basically. And the literature say that you only get disfellowship for a severe sin. So
Mhm.
people will think that you committed a severe sin. So that's
Mhm.
the good thing with telling your story. If
Mhm.
you write a letter, it's not like they're going to read it to the congregations. Not even the elders will read it, actually. They're
Yeah.
instructed just to glance at it and see, and then they put two people on speakerphone, and they ask you, was this a letter of disassociation? And you say yes, and well, then they don't have to read it.
Well, I more wrote it like I knew that they probably weren't going to read it just because it was going to sound not nice toward, you know, the organization, but it was really more of for me like cuz there are moments of weakness where I'm like, you know, you like for example, if you leave a toxic relationship, you leave it and once you're immediately like in the beginning when you're gone, you're relieved, but later on memories will start to crop up and you'll think, oh, maybe it wasn't so bad. Maybe the good times were worth it. But I wrote that letter to remind myself, like, no, this is why these are all the questions that I had that I answered. And I found the most horrific answers to. Why would I ever return to something like that? So I just wanted to remind myself to have something on record to remind myself. And it was not a very like nicely worded, like I was angry in that letter. So it'll remind me like don't don't let that indoctrination get the better of you because this is not the route to go. Do not ever go back. That's a terrible idea. um, and also for my family to get my perspective of like why my I know that if you're in it, you can't comprehend the sentence. My conscience does not allow me to stay a witness, you know?
Yeah.
But I want them I just I want them to know it's not them. It's not that it's not any of the reasons that witnesses typically make up. And I still love you guys and me wanting to leave has nothing to do with you. So
You're
hopefully
not angry at the witnesses,
no,
bitter and resentful.
I am I'm angry. Well, I was very angry toward the leadership because they're the ones making the rules and I'm still disgusted by them, but I feel that just sitting in that anger and resentment does nothing for me. It actually hurts me more and I just kind of want to focus on rebuilding my life. And the people who are still in it, who may judge me, even though it will hurt and it will be annoying and stupid, I was there at one time too. I had a friend who left and she was disfellowshipped, of course. She didn't disassociate, but I felt like, I still loved her, but I felt as though me not speaking to her was the best thing for her because I didn't know any better. I was told that I was doing it out of love. And I did love.
Mm.
And I wanted her to come back to her, to regain her eternal salvation. So the people who really care about me, that's their purpose. That's why I still get texts from people who I haven't spoken
Mm.
to in a year because they're worried about me because they think my eternal life is in danger. I can't hate them for that. Even though they're going about it the wrong way, they don't know any better. So, I still love those people, and if they ever want to talk, they can.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hope they're watching this. Yeah, it's really sad how they destroy families. I
It is.
just sitting thinking here. It's 4 years since I spoke to my parents, and I'm never gonna talk to them. and,
It's.
and it's kind of sad. I feel sorry for them. It's easier for us to lose our parents than for them to lose their kids.
You think so?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Could you imagine losing a kid?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I guess I can't say anything about that because I don't think my parents are gonna. Well, I know my mom's not gonna shun me. She already knows this whole story, but
Yeah.
I don't think my dad's gonna shun me either. Um,
Well, you're lucky then.
yeah, and maybe that's why for some people, disassociation wasn't the route because they wanted to hold on to their family as long as they could. But in my case, it's a different situation. I don't have to worry that my parents aren't going to talk to me. I do have to worry about some who won't talk to me, but I just feel that I don't want to have to hide what I'm doing for fear of being called up and someone being like, "What? You're celebrating your birthday? What? You're celebrating Halloween? Why do I see you in this Christmas picture?" Because I don't believe in any of it, and I don't care, and I just want to have fun. That's why.
Yeah.
But it's for me, it's a way so that they know, look, this is my life now. Take it or leave it. I still love you. If you ever want to talk, you can. But I'm not going to hide behind just being inactive anymore. Like, no, I'm gone from that religion. You can love me if you want. You can not if you don't want to. But I still love you, and if you ever want to talk to me, you can. So, is that not a common way to think about things?
I think that it's difficult. Everyone has to do their own strategy, but and in the end you'll leave, and some people will be shunning you, some people will not. My biggest regret is that I didn't wake up my ex-wife, before she got crazy. I just thought I could fade for the rest of my life, which is why I live in Norway, because the Norwegian witnesses are more like the Californian witnesses. They don't really care so much about all the rules. they but the Swedes are super strict. So
how
that's why I live in Norway.
how I'm
I thought I could fade for the rest of my life in Norway, hiding on a farm. It didn't work. So we'll lay plans and strategies, and sometimes they work. But
yeah. It definitely
it shouldn't be necessary to do what we're doing right now, but it is due to the stupid cult. So
yes, yes. It is very ridiculous and unfortunate, but I one thing is like especially being a woman in that organization. I was thinking about, how they describe women in the publications and how that affects the culture of witnesses. So the words that they use for women are like obedient, kind, loving, caring, um, humble, wise sometimes. I've never seen the word powerful associated with the
no,
organization. And
you're a mighty army as a group under Jesus' leadership,
right.
but
And
it's under Jesus' leadership as a group.
yeah,
You can't walk alone and leave the group and be a powerful woman. No, 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 no.
right. Yeah, 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 yeah.
As a
Uh,
group, subjective under Jesus.
yeah, I mean, so okay. The only example I could think of was probably like jail, but I think she was more. I think they called her brave. Was it something like that? Um, but there's not very many women in positions of power in the Bible. I think there might be maybe one, but I can't think of a name. I don't know, but see, that's the point. Why do I have to think so hard about it? You know what I mean?
Quite often they don't even have names. Like what was the Noah's wife would have been the most important woman on the planet, basically.
Hmm.
More important than Eve, because Eve did a huge mistake
Mm-hmm.
involving fruit, which Noah's wife didn't. And
Mm-hmm.
both of them would be the mother of everything on the planet, but still, no, name not necessary.
Hmm. Yeah, and now I've noticed that now that I've started to become more myself, I like, you know how you talk to yourself in your mind and you tell yourself you're this, you're that. Before my words were you're not good enough. You're not spiritual enough. your, just very discouraging self-talk.
Yeah.
And I'm telling myself, you're a badass bitch. You're powerful. You're so brave. You are amazing. And it's crazy. Like, if that was the right thing for me to do, why did it feel so terrible? Why did it make me feel so small, helpless, hopeless, and sad, you know? And this that I'm doing is quote unquote like living in Satan's world. And I feel more empowered than I've ever felt. I feel unstoppable sometimes. I'm still getting there, but I feel like I can do whatever I want in my life and I can be successful at it. And I'm just going to keep doing that self-talk and, maybe I should start a channel where I like encourage sisters or former sisters to just like stop to harness their power femininity or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good thing. But I think it's kind of the same for brothers too. It's just different wrapping, but we were abused too, hated ourselves, and it was just we were on a ladder slightly higher up. Came with other problems too. But I sometimes you feel that you like there's new situation when you realize I can do this. I couldn't do it 5 minutes ago, but now I can do it. Have you had any of these situations where you
Well,
first you hold your back due to religion and you're afraid someone will look at you, and then you just realize I don't give an F, and you do it anyway, and you feel super empowered.
oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Well, I did tell you that I live with a roommate. That
Yeah.
I did not mean to say that, because I'm definitely going to hear about it. If my family ever gets a hold of this video, they're going to be like, "You're living with, you're living with a man." And like,
You're
we're
living with a boy.
not even my boyfriend or anything, but it's just so stupid. Like, I, you know, I want to be able to live on my own and I love my mom, but there's still an element of, she's my mom. She makes the rules in her house. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm.
I've been in that infantilized mental state for so long that I need to break out of it. I need to take steps to really establish my own identity, and not just identity, but also like my own life, and take hold of it. Um,
Someone said we should start a door-to-door campaign calling on all the witnesses we know. Is that a good idea, you think? Would be fun.
mm, I don't know.
Okay, yeah, keep telling your story. Sorry, I'm have ADHD. I'm multitasking.
No
Sorry.
problem. um, oh, man. Oh yeah. So you know, since I don't have a college education, I cannot afford to live on my own. I need to have a roommate, and this person is my friend who will be able to help each other. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm.
he just so happens to be a dude, and it's fine. Everything's great. Uh, don't have to worry about it. Okay, grandma. Okay. So everyone's gonna be okay, and the world's not gonna end because I have a male roommate.
Yeah. So, what you gonna do with your life more than American Idol? Just I have to get something. Just talk. I can hear you.
Sure. See, now the thing is, I love singing, but I do not want to be famous. So that's the catch 22.
You want to be famous?
No, not really.
Okay, because you're on Goatlike Personality now, so everyone.
Like, I'll pay attention, but it won't be anything like, I won't have paparazzi chasing me, I don't think. So, but
Okay.
so I'm thinking, after I pay off this sales course, I want to buy like equipment to start producing music on my own.
Okay.
And or maybe invest in studio time, depending. Um, but yeah, I want to get into music again and painting. And I don't know, we'll see. I used to design clothes, so I might do that too.
Design clothes.
Yeah, I used to design them, but I used to hide my designs because they weren't Christian enough.
Ooh.
They had like lower necklines, and might be a little too tight or something. So I don't know.
Yeah. that's not that's not appropriate, sister. We cannot have that. So yeah, so now you're gonna disassociate. So that's why I brought it. This is a gavel that I got from my grandfather. He was never a witness, so we can do it.
Oh, nice.
So Denise Richardson is no longer one of Jehovah Witnesses. How does it feel?
It feels great. I mean, feels normal. Feels like, what I've been doing already. Just
Yeah,
living my.
it's on the internet now.
Yeah.
So
How long does it normally take for people to get caught once once it's uploaded?
that's interesting. You know what I did? I was in the newspaper and it was 7 pages, including the front page with Jonas Gustafsson, not a Jehovah Witness. And when the elders came and wanted me to kick me out, I just blamed Satan and said Satan controls media, and I got away with that for over a year. It was so fun because they wanted me to disassociate, and I just said no, no, no. That was Satan. That wasn't me. It was Satan.
Wow. Wow.
So you can
Really?
do that for fun if you want to.
Yeah, I might.
Just blame Satan.
Yeah. Well, so I have to talk to my family in like a couple hours about it, and I sent my little cousins like some jewelry and like a letter that was like, I'm sorry that I've been kind of quiet this past year. I've just been going through some stuff that I felt like I needed to go through on my own, but I still love you guys, and you can call me, as often as you're allowed.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm hoping that they don't get a hold of this. My aunt doesn't get a hold of this video before they're able to open their package, because I'm not sure if she'll give it to them or if she might take the letter out or something. So I don't know.
Yeah. See what happened. But the main message I feel from this video and listening to you was that you're not disassociating from your family.
Right?
You're
Yeah.
disassociating from Watchtower,
Yeah.
which
Yep.
is a totally different thing.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Hopefully.
thank you for calling in. And I'm tired and rambling. So, is there anything more to say? You have some fun anecdotes? What's the best thing with being a Jehovah Witness?
The best thing about being a Jehovah's Witness. Oh, well, one good thing. So my parents had me very young. They were teenagers, and you know, my parents were always afraid that I was going to be a teen mom. So I didn't become a teen mom. So that's a good thing.
That's a good one. Okay, I'm going to start end with a positive note. So, Denise Richardson is no longer one of Jehovah Witnesses, and thank you for calling in, and thank you for the super chat. So, see you in paradise.
All right. See ya.